Hey, welcome to another episode of Legion Elite Motorsports. I am your host, Isaiah, and by popular demand, mainly someone that wanted to know this information, I'm going to drop it for him, specifically him, today for all of your viewing pleasure. We're going to do TPS reset or recalibrate. Let's dive in, guys. Okay, so today we are going to be doing TPS reset. Recalibrate, reset, gonna do the same thing. And today we're gonna do it outside of the car because I happen to be a little bit multi-port and this does not apply to that. So, back to the original unit. So basically, first thing you want to do is you want to turn on your car, let it idle all the way to normal temperature. And reason being is because of this guy right here. This is your idle air control. This idles it up when it's cold, and you don't want that to happen because it pushes on the throttle. You can see right there, pushes on the throttle, okay? Now, if you don't have this module, or if yours is malfunctioning or not working properly, and it's deleted, warming it up does not apply to you. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure you warm up the car because of the idle motor, right? Next, you want to jump over to your TPS, okay? It has two screws. This one's not the proper screw. I don't know why that's there, but anyway. So you want to loosen up the idle or the TPS, mind you, and then you want to turn it to the right. See, it moves both ways. You want to turn it to the right and then go ahead and tighten up these bolts. Not super tight, but just enough so you can slide it just a little bit more flush, you know, so you can adjust it. And you want to hold it to the right. Okay. So next thing you're going to want to do is loosen your throttle cable. A lot of people have issues where their throttle cable has a lot of slack up and down. So they tighten the throttle cable, and from tightening the throttle cable, it ends up pulling the throttle ever so slightly to where it idles up. So we want to eliminate that from even being a possibility by taking the two bolts off for the throttle cable and leave it loose with a lot of slack, right? Okay, then next what we're gonna do is the idle screw. So if you look over here, see this guy hiding back here in the corner, little flathead right there. That is the idle screw, okay? And because this isn't a fancy newer model that has a bypass around the butterfly, which is the throttle in there, it actually just pushes on the throttle itself right back there. So you want to make sure you get your flathead and you loosen that all the way up, okay? All right. So now this next step applies for those who still have the idle control motor. So remember, we previously warmed it up with everything connected the way you currently have it. Now that we loosened everything, we have to reset this one so it knows exactly where the throttle is currently, right? So you hop in your car, put it in the on position for 15 seconds, just wait, and it's gonna calibrate itself. It's gonna move and find where the throttle is. And because the car is warm, it's gonna back it up, right? So then once it does that, you want to go ahead and start the car, right? So the car is gonna idle extremely low, you know, and that's kind of what you want because, you know, again, we're resetting everything. So it's gonna idle pretty low, around 400, you know, around there, give or take. And it's probably gonna try to shut off. Hopefully it doesn't. If it doesn't, at this time, you can set your idle vis-a this screw, Okay, so you go ahead and tighten it. And the RPM range you want to look for is right around 800 to 850. That's a nice, comfortable spot. Okay. If you want to go high, that's your preference. If you want to go lower, that's your preference. But according to the original service manual, you want to have it at 800 plus or minus 100. So 800, 700, 500, you know, whatever. But ideal is 850, so might want to try to keep it there. So the stock RPM gauge isn't necessarily going to tell you what 850 is, but it's below 1,000. It can't be too far off. So once she's idling at that position, you could swing it over here, because now that's where you want it. And you're gonna jump over to this guy, shut off the car, and you're going to get your voltmeter. So, I'm gonna cut this on. We're gonna put it in volts. Now I gotta find the right decimal point. That be the one right there, okay. So you wanna make sure that the decimal point is between these two numbers, plus or minus. And then you're going to jump over to these wires. So they're all green, but what matters the most is the stripe. So green with black stripe is ground. So we can look at the plug here. So here we go. Green with black stripe is ground, right? And green with white stripe is power, okay? So you're gonna take and probe. This one's kind of jacked up. So you're gonna take and probe with this disconnected and the car in the on position. So make sure you put it in on position. Do not start, just leave it in on position, okay? And then you're gonna probe. Positive goes to the green with white, negative goes to the green with black. So boom, let's say we're in there and it's winning, right? I'm not gonna stick this harness, but you probe in the harness, which is gonna be connected to the factory harness, and it's gonna add power to the TPS, and you're gonna look for a specific voltage. So let me show you that. So on the voltage, you wanna see between 0.45 and 0.51. Okay, so you wanna be between. So optimal would be 4.8, or excuse me, 448 on the backside. And what you wanna do is you want to take the throttle, which is this guy, and as it's set, like remember we tightened this, but we didn't tighten it all the way. You wanna adjust it till you get the 48, right, on here, right about there, right? And then you wanna tighten those screws just a little bit more so it doesn't move. And you wanna blip the throttle to make sure it stays within that parameter. That's your parameter that you want the TPS to be in, so it knows exactly where the throttle is, so on and so forth. So just blip it, about 5 times should be good. And you wanna make sure the numbers don't exceed 51 or go below 45. So once that's done, let's say it's in position right now, right? So you lock this down permanently. This part of it is done, right? So now you can turn on the car, make sure it doesn't get cold, otherwise this is going to push down, it's gonna idle up, and so on and so forth. So make sure the car isn't cold. This is why we're starting it now. So you start the car, make sure the idle is the same, and that is it, you're done. You can put everything back, put your wire back in here, go ahead and lock it down, but remember you want a little bit of slack, and you wanna make sure that it does not move the throttle body from where it's positioned by this screw here. Okay. And now from doing that, you guys are TPS Reset Pros, and you'll be able to adjust the idle on these cars perfectly by doing so. So that kind of simplifies it, looking at everything up close. A lot of the stuff you won't be able to see because this is where the firewall is, and it's kind of hard to get your head below the hood to kind of look up in that area, but you still can, for sure, you know. But yeah, so that's how you reset the TPS, and that'll give you a much smoother and cleaner idle. And if this module works, it'll give you a smoother rise of RPM and a drop of RPM once it's done warming up and is finished its warming up sequence, which they do call closed loop and open loop. So, boom, I hope that helps you guys out. Let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas for content, you know, something you would like to see or any other way. But yeah, that is TPS Reset, all done. And with that being said, we're gonna call it an episode right there. I hope you found this information useful. And like I previously said in the video, if you have anything particular you wanna see about these cars here, let me know. I'll definitely be able to squeeze out some content for you. I'm also hanging tight, doing this content for you guys here and there, because I have a bigger announcement to make. I'm still waiting, but as soon as I get some info, you guys will know about it. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. And remember, knowledge is power. All right.